Hello, my friends. My name is Onyebuchi, and you're welcome to my YouTube channel, a place where I try to make maths make sense. In our video today, we're going to be discussing 10 facts about maths equation that you need to know. There are 10 facts about maths equation that you need to know in order to make maths make sense. If you don't have a hood or you don't grasp these 10 facts, you're going to be struggling with mathematics. There's no beating around the bush about it. So without wasting much of our time, I'm going to be explaining the 10 facts about maths equations that you need to know in order to make maths make sense. Please, I will urge you to watch the video to the end because they are all important. You just need to know all of them to be good or to be able to understand mathematics. Before I go into the video, I want to tell you something very brief about equation. As a beginner, 70% of the hurdles that you're going to be facing in your maths journey has a lot to do with equation. So that will also make you to want to listen to the video and watch the video to the end so that you know these 10 facts about maths equation that you need to know. I've written out some of them on the board, and I'm going to be taking them one after the other in order to explain the way as we go. I have a representative equation here. The first fact that you need to know about maths equation is an equation is a maths expression that has the sign of equality in it. This first fact helps you to identify equation. When you see any maths expression with the sign of equality in it, the sign of equality is what you have here. We all know it. We call it the equal to sign. Whenever you see a math expression with this sign in it, just know that you are dealing with an equation. So we'll go straight to the second fact about math equation. It's written on the board. The second fact is the sign of equality divides an equation into two parts. This is very important. Not only does the equal sign in a math expression enable us to identify equation, it also divides the equation into two parts. The part that is to the left, okay, let me just go back to, I have a sample, an example of a math equation on the board. What we have here is 3x plus, in bracket we have 2x plus 1. We have another bracket, we have 4y plus 7. We have the equal to sign. We have 3 times 2 plus yx minus 3 dot y. This is an example of an equation. There are a lot of them. If you open a math textbook, you're going to see numerous equations. You can even formulate math equations as you're sitting down there. The most important thing is that there will be the sign of equality in it. Now, the equal sign, let's work with the second fact about math equation. The sign of equality divides the equation into two parts. Let's use this example that is on the board to explain what we mean by the sign of the equality divides an equation into two parts. This is where the sign of equality is. Every other expression that is to the left of the sign of equality is known as the left-hand side. So from here to here is a left-hand side. Oh, my marker is not writing left-hand side. Let me abbreviate it as LHX. The left-hand side of the equation starts from here. This is the boundary. The sign of the equality serves as the boundary. Then everything that is to the right of the sign of equality is known as the right-hand side. Okay? So the sign of equality divides an equation into two parts. The part that is to the left of it is known as the left-hand side of the equation, while the part that is to the right of it is known as the right-hand side of the equation. This is extremely important. While solving the equation, you hear sometimes they say, add 20 to both sides of the equation. With this now, you know what the both sides of the equations are. And you know the landmark that divides the equation into different sides. It is a sign of equality. Having said that, let's go straight to the third fact about maths equation that you need to know in order to make maths make sense. The letters of the alphabet that you see in an equation are actually representing some numbers. These letters of the alphabet are technically referred to as variables. Now, from our elementary class, you start off with mathematics. It is always to learn the multiplication table, to learn how to write numbers, 1, 2, 3, to learn how to add numbers, basic addition and subtraction, division and multiplication. Suddenly, as you continue to develop in mathematics, you get to the point where you now see that we're no longer dealing with numbers alone. We also introduce some elements of the alphabet. Just like as we have in the board, we have x, 3x, 2x, 4y, y, xy, and y. What do these things stand for? What does xy stand for? Xy obviously are letters of the alphabet. What do they stand for? Now, the third fact explained to us that they are some numbers. They are just representation of some numbers. Now, 3x simply means 3 multiplied by a certain number. We don't know the number, but there is a number that exists that when we multiply it by 3, and we add 2x, whatever, that's just what it means. X is a number, it represents a number. So when they say solve an equation, it means look for the value of that number that is represented by the alphabet of the English language. That is just what it means basically. Okay? Now, the fourth fact about equation that we need to know in order to make maths make sense is multiplication. Now, there are 4 basic mathematical processes that can be carried out. We can add numbers, that is addition. We can subtract numbers, we can divide numbers, and we can multiply numbers. Multiplication in an equation is very important. It's very important for us to know that multiplication in an equation can be represented in 4 different ways. There are 4 different ways that multiplication can be represented in an equation. I'm going to use the example that I've written on the board to explain this ways. When you have 3x, it simply means 3 times x. If you look at this expression here, let's not consider the whole equation, just 3 and x. 3x, one of the ways that multiplication can be represented in writing the equation is to bring the terms that are multiplying each other together. Just write them together without anything demarcating them. Just as we have here 3x. If you come down here, we'll have 2x. It is 2 times x. You come here, we'll have 4y. It is 4 times y. If you come down here, we'll have xy. xy means x times y. So bringing the numbers together, bringing the multiplying terms together without anything demarcating them, just writing them together as if you're writing a note, is one of the ways that multiplication can be represented while writing an equation. The second part is brackets. If you look at this expression now, 2x plus 1 is in bracket, open and close. 4y plus 7 is also in brackets. What this means is that the whole of this is multiplying the whole of this. So when you have 2 mathematical entities in brackets next to each other, just know that they are multiplying each other. That is one of the ways to represent multiplication. So that is the second way. The first way is to write the multiplying terms together. The second one is to use the brackets. So let's go to the third one. The third one has to do with the normal multiplication sign that we have already we know forever, that we know. 3 times x. This sign is the sign that represents multiplication right from our kindergarten, right from our elementary school. When we see 3 times x, we know that 3 is multiplying. 3 times y, we know that 3 is multiplying. 3 times 2, we know that 3 is multiplying 2. Okay? So we can also use the sign. The last one we're going to use is here. We use the dot. We use the dot. So 3 dot y. It still means multiplication. It still means that 3 is multiplying y. So these are the 4 ways that multiplication can be represented while writing an equation. The first one is we can write out the multiplying terms together, just as we have here, 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 and here. The second way is that we can put the multiplying terms in brackets, just as we have here and here. The third way to represent multiplication is we can use the sign of multiplication, just as we have here, 3 times 2. The last way we can represent multiplication is 3. This is not 3 point y. This is 3 dot y. So when you see 3 dot y, you know that it is 3 times y. These are the 4 different ways that multiplication can be represented while writing an equation. So that is our fourth fact. That is our fourth fact. We've listed from 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go to the fifth fact. Without wasting much of our time, guys, let's discuss the fifth fact about maths equations that we need to know. It's written on the board. Number 5. The number multiplying a variable in an equation is known as its coefficient. Remember, in one of the facts that I've explained earlier, we talked about the letters of the alphabet that we see in equation, and we refer to those letters of the alphabet as representing certain numbers. And we also technically refer to the letters of the alphabet as variables. So you see it's coming up here again, number 5. The number multiplying a variable in an equation is known as its coefficient. Let's go to our example. 3x. 3 is multiplying x. X is a variable. So what the fifth fact simply means is that the number 3 is the coefficient of x. If you come down to this place, following the same logic, 2x, 2 is multiplying x. So any number that multiplies a variable is the coefficient of that variable. This is very important. So if I ask, what is the coefficient of y here? The simple answer is 4. Why? Because 4 is multiplying y, and we know that y is a variable. Numbers that multiply the unknown or the variable or the letters of the alphabet in our equation are known as coefficients. That is the fifth fact, guys. Let's go straight to the sixth one. The sixth one is the sign of addition and subtraction divides an equation into parts known as terms. Into parts known as terms. So let's go back to our sample equation and see if we can use this to explain number 6. If you're writing an equation, you must add at a point plus and minus in between different places. For instance, in this question, in this expression we have on the board, we have 3x, there is a plus here, plus the whole of this entity is equal to 3 times 2. Look at plus again, xy. Then look at minus. What number 6 means is, take for instance this plus here, and this plus here. Divide this equation into terms. So 3x is a term, okay? 2x plus 1 into brackets 4y plus 7 is also another term. Coming down here, 3 times 2 is a term because plus divides it from x times y. Okay? Minus is also another. This minus here divides this into another term. So if I should count how many terms that I have in this example that we have on the board, we have 1. Why? Because there is a plus here that separates it from the whole of this. We usually don't count the plus that is inside the brackets because, as I've said earlier, one of the ways to represent multiplication is by using the brackets. Because this is multiplying this, we consider the whole of this as one term. This is the major sign that has enabled us to know that we are dealing with an equation, right from the first facts. So let's go down here. We have a plus here and a minus here. This divides this into, this is a term, this is a different term, and this is a different term. These are minor things or minor facts, but they help greatly in enabling us solve equation or navigate through equation. They give us better understanding of what equation is all about. So if they ask you what is the term, what is meant by the terms in an equation, just know that you're just going to consider the equation and say where are the plus and where are the minus. So mathematical entities that are separated by plus and minus in an equation represent the terms of the equation. So if I'm going to count the number of terms in this equation as a whole, I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, I have 4, and I have 5. Don't be confused by the plus here and the plus here. The fact that there is a bracket brings this together as one term. So this is very important. For instance, while solving the equation, they will say the second term of this, the term gives you a guideline on how to solve. Probably when we go into solving equations proper, these things will make sense. If you don't really understand what I mean by the terms of the equation, it's okay. By the time we start solving equations in our subsequent videos, you're going to appreciate it more. Let's go to the 7th fact about equation. Now, this fact about the equation is talking about the sign of a number. There are different types of numbers, guys. There are different types of number. Broadly, numbers can be divided into either positive numbers or negative numbers. The positive numbers are the numbers that have plus at their front, and the negative numbers are the numbers that have minus at their front. The 7th fact shows us that the sign of a number, any number, is always at the front of number. If I say minus 3, if I want to represent minus 3, the minus will be written before the 3. Okay? If I want to represent plus 3, the plus will be written before the 3. That is what number 7 simply means the sign of any number is always at the front of the number. Just take it that way. When we start solving, it will make a lot of sense. Because while solving the equation, you might say, okay, in order to manipulate this equation, I will need to shift this from here. So this will come in handy and this will help us a lot. For instance, if you have established that the whole of this stands as one term because they are multiplying each other, the sign of this term is this plus here that's at the front. That is what it simply means. Coming down to here, 3.y, the sign at its front is minus, so it means the whole of it will be minus 3.y. So the sign of the number is always at the front of the number. If you come down here, we have xy. If we say xy, we are wrong if we attach the minus sign at the back to xy. The sign that should be attached to xy is the plus at the front. You might ask me, what about this number here? There is neither plus nor minus at its front. By convention, when a number is written without indicating any sign or assigning any sign to it, by convention, we take that number to be a positive number. So 3x, there should be a plus here, but by convention, it's not usually written. So it is plus 3x. 3 times 2. The sign here is plus because we didn't indicate. If it was minus, then we must include the minus sign at the front. So basically, the sign of every number is always at the front of the number. This is extremely important. It's very important. When solving equation, these are the little things that make you get lost or get confused. But if you understand these things, you'll find out that solving equations will be very simple, and by extension, the whole of mathematics will be simple because, as I stated earlier, 70% of the hurdles that you will be facing in mathematics as a beginner has a lot to do with equation. So we'll finish with the 7th part. We're going to go with the 8th one. The 8th one is also like an instruction. It's like an instruction. It says, in manipulating an equation, it is important to note that whatever we do to one part of the equation must be done to the other part of the equation. In our second fact, I said that the sign of equality divides the equation into two parts. Okay? That is the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So when you want to manipulate equation, probably with the aim of solving for the equation, then just take note that whatever mathematical operation that you carry out on one part of the equation must be replicated on the other part of the equation. That is the golden rule. Whatever you do to the left-hand side of the equation, you must do to the right-hand side of the equation. For instance, if I say add 20 to both sides of the equation, you must add 20 to this side and you must add 20 to the other side. If I say divide both sides of the equation by 5, I must do the same to this side and I must do the same to the other side. So this is very, very important. In manipulating an equation, whatever you do to the left-hand side of the equation must be done to the right-hand side of the equation. And mind you, the second fact about the equation has enabled us to know where the left-hand side of the equation is and where the right-hand side of the equation is. All you need to do to be able to identify the left-hand side of the equation and the right-hand side of the equation is to identify the sign of equality, the equal sign. The equal sign is the boundary. Wherever it appears, you take it as the boundary. Every other expression that is to the left of the sign of equality is the left-hand side of the equation. And every other expression that is to the right-hand side of the equality is the right-hand side of the equation. This is very important. We're going to go to the ninth fact and also the 10th fact. Then we'll have round up the video. And I'll urge you to go through it over and over again because this is all you need. No matter how complicated an equation is, no matter how advanced it is, these are the things that is being applied to solve them. Okay? All right, guys, the ninth fact about math equation that you need to know is encapsulated in what we refer to as the subject formula of an equation. When you are asked to make a variable the subject of the formula of an equation, it simply means manipulate the variable so that the variable stands alone. For instance, if I come to the board, what I have on the board, and they say, make y the subject of the equation or the subject of the formula in this equation, what it simply means is that manipulate and rearrange this equation following the rules of mathematics such that y stands alone, okay? Y stands alone equal to something else. That is what it means to make a variable the subject of the formula in an equation. I'm not going to write on that one, but I am very, very sure that when we start solving questions, it will make a lot of sense to us. That is the ninth fact about math equation that we need to know. Now, the 10th fact about math equation that we need to know is substitution and assumption. These two things, assumption and substitution, are the basic techniques that we use to solve equations. You cannot successfully solve an equation without introducing what we refer to as assumption and substitution. Writing it on the board does not make any sense at this point because it is just like when we go into it and we start solving, I'm going to point it out. This is one of the reasons that you stare blankly at a question without knowing what to do as far as mathematics is concerned. For somebody that knows what to do, he will start looking for a way to introduce assumption and substitution. When he gets to the point where he is able to do that, then that is the first step to successfully resolving the equation. So with this, we have come to the end of the video. The 10 facts about math equations that you need to know in order to make maths make sense. Please go through it, watch it over and over again, pick out your pen and write out these facts. If possible, memorize them and they should be part of you. I really don't buy the idea of cramming. I want you to understand the concept behind it. So for now, I advise you to memorize them. Have these 10 facts on your fingertips. In our subsequent videos, we'll be solving questions where we'll be applying these 10 facts. We'll solve questions where we'll be applying these 10 facts. And I believe it's going to make more sense to us. My wish and my hope is by the time we start applying these 10 facts in solving equation, you would have gotten a grasp of it and you should be able to sit down and confidently tackle any math equation that is before you. This channel is for beginners in mathematics. So I start from the scratch. I go with the basic assumption that you don't know anything about mathematics. So please watch out for the next video where I intend to bring up questions on equation where these 10 facts will be applied. Thank you very much. If you get any value from this video, please, I will urge you to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share the video too. We are open for comments. Please put your comments, whatever it is, any suggestion you have, any criticism, and even questions in the comment section. I promise you I'm going to go through all of them and I'm going to reply you. Once again, my name is Onyebuchi, your passionate mathematics teacher. Thank you for being with me or staying tuned to the end of the video. See you next time. Thanks.